everyone, and welcome back to That's So Matthew. In today's episode, I am so excited to have two very special guests here with me today. And in just a minute, I'll let them take the floor and introduce themselves. I'm so excited to be here talking about Stuck in the Suburbs, the 2004 DCOM today, starring Danielle Panabaker and Brenda Song. As you guys know, I love Brenda Song. She has been in so many amazing projects. And on the podcast, I think this is one of the last ones to talk about. So a little emotional here on my end. But without further ado, Allison, if you would like to introduce yourself. You're more than welcome.
Sure. Hello, this is Allison. This is Allison McLean Merrill. I am a freelance writer covering film, TV, pop culture, nostalgia, and I'm a fitness teacher and a musician. And I also run a blog which is called Past Foot Forward, with the idea that we're moving forward in time, still carrying our most cherished memories with us. And you can find that on Instagram at Past Foot Forward.
Well, thank you for being here. I'm so excited to have you. We have been connecting online for quite some time now, and now we are working together on this episode, and I'm so excited. And our other guest today is DJ Bob of the DJ Bob podcast, the DJ Bob show, excuse me. So if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm DJ Bob Runkle. I am a self-proclaimed pop culture nerd. I've been eating, sleeping, and breathing pop culture for pretty much all my life, so there came a point where I just wanted to talk about it all, and we're going on our 11th year of the show, so I'm happy to be here.
Well, I am so excited to have you here, and congrats on 11 years. That is absolutely insane. I cannot even imagine that. And I just love that we're all pop culture Disney geeks here because, you know, this is the podcast for that. Disney, pop culture, the whole 9 yards. This is the place. This is the podcast here on that. So, Matthew. And so, before we get into Stuck in the Suburbs, I always like to share a fun fact about myself. So, my fun fact for today is that this is the last episode of season 5 of my podcast, which is kind of crazy. So, this is the season finale, if you will. And I'm so excited for Stuck in the Suburbs. And I think this is a great movie to pick because it came out the year I was born. So we're going to get two different perspectives here. Me, who definitely watched it a little bit later than the both of you. And I think that always provides such a unique perspective on the podcast to see like someone who's just watched it more recently than someone who watched it when it first came out. So I'm so excited to hear those thoughts and opinions. And I think without further ado, it is time to get into Stuck in the Suburbs. So as we usually say here on the podcast, Stuck in the Suburbs is a Disney Channel original movie that was released on July 16th, 2004, about 3 months before I was born. I was born in September. And Danielle Panabaker stars as Brittany Aarons, along with Brenda Song as Natasha Kwan Schwartz. And like I said, Brenda Song, love her. And this is one of her earlier Disney Channel projects, right about the time of Sweet Life and before Sweet Life on Deck. And before she got her own DCOM, Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior, which I did cover on the podcast a couple months back. So go check it out. Spoiler alert, wasn't a big fan, but you guys can go listen and find out why. And so this movie is about a regular teenage girl, and she is stuck in the suburbs. And she is kind of just bored of her life. She has some teen angst, as she says in the movie. She's a songwriter, which she loves to write songs. Her mom, however, does not. And she's obsessed with Jordan Cahill, who is a huge pop star in this fictional universe, which I literally love that for him because he is quite the guy. And somewhere along the time of him being in the suburb that she lives in, she gets his phone and they must connect and get it back. And chaos ensues, there has to be a concert, all the Disney Channel original movie antics that they usually pull out. And Brenda Song's character comes along here, kind of throws a wrench into it, causes some pretty emotional drama. And I think that's a pretty good overview of the story. It's a crazy
Yeah.
one.
I would say so. It's very interesting, and we'll probably delve into it a little deeper. But like this film, aside from the main cast, is predominantly a Canadian cat. Like, 'cause I
Hmm.
think it was shot in Toronto or Vancouver, one of those cities. So everybody, like, this is a fictional town in America, but all of the actors are pretty much Canadian, which I thought was kind of fun.
Hmm.
That is
To
Definitely.
very interesting. I feel like a lot of the DCOMs, specifically like lately, have definitely been filmed in Canada. I mean, obviously for COVID restrictions as well, that has been something of the sorts. But I think that is so cool. So I'm honestly so glad I have another pop culture person in here because it is already just great to have some of those fun facts as we go along. So now we're going to talk about our first character, our main character, and I'll go, and then we can kind of do like a little round robin type thing. So
Yeah.
first up, we have Danielle Panabaker, who you may recognize from several other Disney Channel projects, such as Read It and Weep, which is another one of my personal favorite Disney Channel original movies. I have not seen it in forever, though, so I would definitely love to talk about it on the podcast soon. And she is also in the show The Flash on the CW, which I've never seen, but all my friends are telling me to watch. So maybe along the route of my life, I will watch it and we will get to see her in the show. And so Brittany, like I said, is just a teenage girl. She's kind of going through it. She has her teen angst, as she self-describes, which I thought that was kind of funny because she definitely does not scream teen angst in any way. She just seems like a happy soccer player. She plays soccer, obsessed with Jordan Cahill, kind of like Justin Bieber, if you will. And he is really done with his life too. So you kind of have a parallel between Brittany and Jordan as they're both kind of going through it. They want to change in their life. They want something new. And well, they definitely both aren't getting it because we have his manager who kind of is like Brittany's mom, kind of controlling their life. And so my opinion about her is I didn't really hate her. However, I found her to be kind of annoying at some times. I felt she was kind of ungrateful. As a teenager, I'll say sometimes, I think I'm ungrateful too. However, I just found her to be a little ungrateful for it. However, I think if I had a celebrity's phone, I would have acted the exact same way. I would have been just in complete shock. But she does seem to kind of focus and how do I say, like, rely on Natasha for a lot of things. And Natasha, as we learn towards the end of the movie, is not very truthful in her ways. So she doesn't really have that true friendship as they thought they did. And that kind of made me a little bit sad because I think that she just needs like some guidance from her parents and her friends to kind of get her through this little teen angst phase.
Yeah. Definitely. I would say she's that girl, which I can relate to, who walked right out of Limited 2. She's got the styles of the moment, and I like her. I think that she is relatable looking back on it. I think given her circumstances of living in this like cookie cutter house in this cookie cutter neighborhood, yeah, I love how you brought that out with the parallels between her and Jordan. But with her life, I think that Danielle does a really good job of playing up some of the comedy of everything around her being the same. She has her moments, which we all do, but like you said, she definitely is really drawn to Natasha because there's this drive to become cool, and I think that's a very like 2000s Disney Channel thing, so we can talk more about that. But on the whole, I like her as a character.
I've always kind of enjoyed how driven she is to be a songwriter. Like it doesn't
Mm.
happen a lot that often. I mean, there are glimpses of it, but Jordan and her character can kind of relate, and it all comes full circle at the end, which we'll talk about. But I feel like, once she meets Natasha, she's sort of like trying to fit in so bad. And on a film standpoint, that could come across as like annoying, but it works here, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think so.
I definitely agree. It makes sense. She's just a classic DCOM teenager. I think that's just the best way to say it. She's just going through it.
Yeah.
And Natasha just kind of doesn't help in that way that she kind of doesn't give. She can't trust Natasha the way that she thought she could. And she's trying to change herself for Natasha because Natasha is so much cooler than her. And when you have to change yourself for a friend, I say this on the podcast all the time, it's not worth it. It's just, it's not a true friend if you have to change yourself. Apply that to DCOM life and into your real life, please. But just seeing it, especially in this DCOM, I noticed, and I was just kind of saddened by it because I just don't like that theme, and it just happens to be in most DCOMs or shows on Disney Channel, especially in like the early 2000s.
I wonder if there's like a, for lack of a better term, Bible when you're writing a DCOM. like these are the must things that you have to have. Oh, we have to follow this story. We have to follow this and that. And it's almost like the Hallmark approach, where it's like you gotta connect all the boxes, sort of, and
yeah, I think they had started to find they really had found their footing by the time they were at this stage, like 2004. They had been doing this for a while. One thing that sticks out to me is all of this best friend tension we're talking about. It's all going to come to a head in the best friend fight. Like you said, she can't trust her anymore, and there's going to be someone running out of the room, and the mom is standing there and doesn't know what's going on. I think it's part of why we love it, though.
I agree.
Something I've always admired, something that I've always kind of thought was funny about the whole Brittany and Natasha dynamic is, can we talk about the rest of Brittany's family? Like,
oh yeah,
like that's like a whole other thing. Like, they could have made a movie just about the whole family. Like, I want to know more about the sister who drives it. Like, like, I want a whole film about her. It's like, it's like this they're like this kooky, weird family, but you're invested for the whole runtime of the movie.
I loved the sister personally. I thought she was hilarious.
Oh, I did too, but I just want to know more.
Me too. I want to know
Yeah,
why
that
she's so scared to drive. I mean, I can relate. I just got my driver's license about 5 months ago, so definitely can relate.
Wait, so how old is she in the movie though? Like, what do we know? Do we know her
17,
sister?
I would say.
Probably 16 or 17. Yeah, I would think so.
She just seems kind of more like neurotic than.
Yeah.
Like, you could be nervous to drive, but I feel like there's an extra something that we don't know.
I think Bob is working on like the sequel to this movie right now.
I want more.
I would love it. Just the driving scenes just remind me so much of like when I'm driving with my sister. My sister, she loves the music loud. I don't do loud music. I'm like, I'm trying to drive. I'm trying to focus, but not to that extent that we see her sister kind of going on throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious though. So bonus points for comedic relief.
Yeah, the brother too, honestly.
I stand the brother.
He's got like a little bit of Matt McGuire in him, I think.
I was just actually going to say that. He reminds me much of Matt McGuire. And also, I don't...
Or the brother in Freaky Friday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Another thing, like you said, they probably just have the cards that they must pull and be like, oh, we're going to include this in the movie. It's like the same like formula.
Like, can you picture the audition? Yeah, we want a Matt McGuire type. Like, like that. Like they must have sort of like a guidebook of maybe literal, maybe figurative, but like a guidebook of what they want.
Yeah, I mean, they all have different writers, but you know, it's like it's still the brand at this point in time. But yeah, that family though.
And can we say like there were like 4 or 5 movies just in that year alone, if memory serves me right. Like they cranked them
Yeah,
out every couple months.
they were still doing quite a lot. Prior to that, Bob, as you might have, well, you weren't watching the channel yet at that point, but there was a time when they were doing them once a month, which was a lot, but
Oh yeah,
exciting.
cause I remember when I got it, it was like Cheetah Girls was out, and then it was like there were a couple Eddie's Million. So they were still doing the every like 2-3 months thing.
Okay.
So it was kind of nearing the end of that, but
2000 and
I
2001 were
digress.
those years. One every single month. I know. Because last year I felt like every single
Yeah.
month I was like, it's another 20th anniversary of a DCOM, and I was like, what?
Yes. Yes, I love it. It makes me so happy.
So our next character is obviously my favorite, Brenda Song. However, I cannot say the same about her character, Natasha. Natasha supposedly comes from New York. You know, she's the it girl. She's new. She's moving in. She's got a pretty good fashion sense. She's smart to an extent, but she does not like sports. She does not play. She does not participate in gym class. And she kind of just needs to get her way. She doesn't understand the dynamics of the suburb that she's in. She's not ready. She does not understand the Jordan Cahill obsession. And so she meets.
But if you're in New York and you're that dialed in, shouldn't you know? Like you're the way they perceive, and it's not just because I live in New York, but the way they perceive him, the way they make her out to be. Like, are you that extravagant? Like, have you not seen any? You know what I'm saying? It's like they build this New York persona up for her, and it bugged me because I watched that movie like it's not like that here. Like, what are you saying? You know, it just never makes sense
It
to
doesn't
me.
make sense. I feel like that's the point that we're going to get to for a lot of the parts of this decom. It just doesn't make sense. And this specifically, the way that they just like perceive her, like she lived in Madrid, she's been all over the world, she's like the cool girl, for it all to be a lie in the end. Obviously, spoiler alert.
And even like her put on fake that little attitude she got, the voice, I can't.
I don't know, guys. Come on. I think Brenda did a great
I
job.
love Brenda.
She pulled it
Love
off.
Brenda.
Yeah, we love Brenda, but I get what you're saying. It's like on the Get a Clue podcast, Matthew, you and your co-host brought up the Brenda Song, like fashionista in all of these shows and movies. But I like that it's not exactly the same. Like she's got that extra bit of sass here, and you know, not like the most likable for the lying and all of the, you know, other mannerisms and characteristics we've been mentioning. But it is interesting to see the variations of that.
But it's a very good predecessor to London Tipton. Like it's kind of like London Tipton is this character on steroids. I feel like, you know what I'm saying? So that's how I see it.
I agree. I think that this is one of the only things that she's been a part of besides Ultimate Christmas Present where it's not the cookie cutter Lennon Tipton stereotype fashionista thing like I mentioned in my Get a Clue episode. And I like her in this movie. It's just I think the character just annoys me because it's like a person
She's
I wouldn't
great
get
in it.
along with.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of that liar. She kind of just wants attention. I mean, everyone wants attention. I mean, it's part of human life.
If it were now, she'd have a bunch of like Instagram followers and like
She would be like the
She
TikTok famous girl.
right, yeah.
I don't know. I just didn't like how they lied. And then they had that little sad black and white montage of like all the clips of them and some sad teen angst music. I just thought that was hilarious.
Didn't they use those I think they used those in the promos. Like they really
Probably.
built off that.
Yeah, I can't
Um,
remember the promo for this one.
but I just,
Anyway.
but yeah,
So
that's Brenda for you.
she did a great job though, and she also just had a kid.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
did.
Also, just had a kid like not that long ago.
Yes.
With Kevin from Home Alone. Lexi, process that for a second.
See, okay, I've known that they've been
Mhm.
dating for together for like 2 years.
I did too, but it still throws me for a loop.
Yeah, somebody messaged me and like, I can't believe they were together.
I mean, I knew they were together. I just had. I mean, obviously, no one
Yeah.
knew that she was expecting, and then all of a sudden, she posts one day, "We had a kid."
Whoa.
Wow.
Yay her, yay her.
Yay her.
Call back.
I get it.
Well, that's Natasha for you. And up next is Jordan Cahill. I'm gonna call him like the Justin.
Ooh, I got a lot.
I got a
lot of fun facts. I got a lot of fun facts for this one. Jordan Cahill is played by like a veteran Saturday Night Live actor at this point, Taran Killam.
Wow.
And I feel this was my first exposure to him, and he's just a pop star who wants to be accepted for who he is and his artistry, because they're not letting him do what he wants, and we get into that. But like when you're in a creative space and you're stopped from doing what you want, it kind of sucks. And trust me, I know. But you know, his acting, you empathize with his character so much. You know what he wants. You feel bad for him, and then you root for him at the end. He's only difficult, and he's only like hard to deal with because it's the people he's around. Once he goes back down to earth, you notice the real Jordan, and it makes him likable.
I agree. I honestly, at first, I forgot. I was like, I don't really like him. But then when you kind of see where he's coming from and that he doesn't have any freedom, he's a pop star. He's controlled every move by his manager and his assistant. And he wrote his own lyrics to a song. He can't even sing them. And you just kind of feel bad for him because you realize like the pop star life or the celebrity life that pretty much everyone wants. Not everyone, but a lot of people want. To kind of see that unpleasant, I guess you could say, like reality of that life. And he literally was actually not that bad. Like everyone perceived him to be like such a bad guy, like a popular celebrity. Like don't look him in the eye, like all this and stuff like that. It's just so funny. And he just turned out to be such a down to earth person. He like sits with Natasha and Brittany in like the little tunnel. And I actually really liked him. I
love that scene at the diner though.
Yeah, where he's about to chow down on his burger.
And when he like what was his thing? Like
bobblehead.
He was so excited about the bobblehead. Yes, like we see some human, and like you totally empathize with him towards the end. He helps out at the end. He comes to that benefit or that fundraiser or whatever it is, and you root for him. So
I was so excited when his song was just sent to everyone. I have no idea how that worked. His song was just sent to every single phone in the area. Mm-hmm. No clue how that worked.
Yeah, see that phone was way advanced for its time, and probably still advanced for now. Like
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll talk plenty about the technological excitements there. But I agree with both of you. And I think it's sad that even though this is obviously like over exaggerated and parts of it are like kind of fantasy, that there is a reality to it that sometimes people's albums do get shelved and never see the light of day. And there are like really cool songs that don't always get heard. So I also love that he was able to get his own original lyrics out there and kind of match up with this identity that was underneath him that whole time. So yeah, cool character.
Mm-hmm. Definitely agree. And also, fun fact, just because I'm a theater kid, he played the role of King George III on Broadway in Hamilton back in 2016 and 2017.
Oh yeah.
So
Cool.
I was waiting when I saw that footage of him. I'm like, is he gonna do more than me? Like, is he gonna start singing it? Like, it's like, yeah. I was so excited to see him.
me too. He was really good in this movie, so I give him credit. And the songs are just early 2000s, just really good. And they weren't like horrible lyrics. They weren't as bad as some of the other
No,
ones.
they were very I it kind of reminded me of, and I'm totally dating myself, but I think Allison will get me. He sort of reminds me of Ryan Cabrera. Do you know who that is?
The name sounds familiar. I don't know. Matthew might know him better than
If
I
you
do.
look him up on Google, they actually look very
Ryan
similar.
Cabrera. Okay.
I do see it.
Looks familiar. Okay, give us like a hit song, Bob.
The song, the big one that he did was On the Way Down, but I think his claim to fame was that he was dating Jessica Simpson's sister for like half a second.
Oh, very interesting.
But it was just so ironic that I think this movie and his album came out like a month apart. So
cool.
when I was watching this for first time, I'm like, is that him? I always thought that, like, because like similar look and similar feel, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. It's some of the early 2000s photos. They have kind of like the same hair vibe going on with the highlights.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So up next, our character is Eddie, who is the assistant to the manager and pretty much the cause of all the chaos in this movie.
And the one person in this movie that I've actually had the opportunity to talk to.
Wow.
And he doesn't remember much about doing this movie.
I mean,
it was like, from what I remember, I don't want to speak for him, but I think it was just a quick thing that he did. And then, move on to the next thing. But I liked his character. I mean, he was kind of like the for lack of a better term, the gopher.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, you want this, you got it. Here you go. You like that kind of stuff. But like, and then he gives him that weird, like, he gives Jordan that weird heart to heart in the middle of the movie. Like, we did this together. I forget exactly what it was, but he's like, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Like, we were kids and we did it. I'm like, oh whoa, Eddie, whoa, okay.
His character was very. He was trying so hard to be professional. And he just like wasn't. Like he just like has the quirky like assistant vibes from like any movie. And I honestly enjoyed his character. He was very comedic. He didn't really have any plan of action throughout this whole movie. It was kind of just a mess of, oh, let's get this phone back. But he never really knew how to do it. He wasn't really willing to make any big sacrifices because he knew that it would lose him his job, obviously. And he just added such a comedic relief. And I really enjoyed like just having him kind of break up the story a little bit with some like of the humor because this movie, well, it was funny early 2000s. I just felt that it needed a little bit more like just comedy.
I love it. I love his
Yeah.
interaction. I love his interaction with the girls.
Oh yeah, that's a big part of it. And there's that one point where they're on the phone and he like opens the fridge and takes out something and like smells it. Just stuff
Oh,
like that. It's a lot of
He's
fun.
always going through the fridge. I can picture him on the phone with Brittany one of the times, and he's like going through the fridge like you said, and he's like sniffing it before he eats it. He's just such a funny guy, and I actually liked his character.
Yeah, same here.
So our next character is the sister. I believe she is. I forgot her name.
Corey English? Oh, that's her real name. I don't remember what's her name in this movie.
Jesse.
Oh, yes.
She, like we said,
Yes.
hilarious driving.
I feel bad 'cause I jumped the gun on her.
It's
Like
okay.
I said
Oh.
it.
You know,
It's all
it's
right.
just natural. It's just natural conversation. And she, like we said, she is literally just hilarious. I don't know why, because I mean, it's like not great to have a fear of driving. However, it's a movie, it's a comedic aspect. And when I first started driving, that's how I was. If anyone was talking, I was very much freaking out because I was like, I need to focus on the road. I got to focus on the road. Over time, it kind of just dies down. And if she is like 16, 17, hopefully eventually, even though she's not a real person, that just kind of dies down because that was so intense for her.
You know, even though we've talked about like wanting a little bit more of her character because she's funny and like the brainiac one, even though like I'm the big sister, I don't have a big sister, I have a little sister. I still get the vibe that this is kind of like a for some families maybe a good representation of what that actually would look like through the younger siblings' eyes. Like the other one's kind of off in the room on the computer, and then like everything's very insular, and you've got this pop star's phone and you've got all of your problems. So I thought that aspect of the characterization, even though we love her, we want more, like kind of makes sense now that I think about it.
Yeah. I mean, I always enjoyed her because it was always like I love sketch comedy and like classic comedy routines. And we get a lot of that back and forth in this with her. So it made me happy.
I really liked it too. It was just a nice breakup, like I said, to kind of have some more comedy in this movie. So up next is the manager, Len. Every time I hear the name Len, I don't know if anyone can relate. I think of Len Goodman from Dancing with the Stars.
Oh my! I was gonna say that. Yes.
I love him. He's so funny. Well, in the movie, this Len is very irritating, personally, for me. I mean, I get where he's coming from. This is his job. This is his business. He loses Jordan. He loses his life, pretty much. Jordan is his ticket to fame. Really annoying. Like I said, he's focused more on the money aspect than maybe, like, the friendship between the two, or even just Jordan, like his mental health and all that stuff. Like he knows Jordan wrote these lyrics, but he won't let him use these lyrics because he only wants them to, he says, focus on getting with someone, breaking up with someone, and loving someone. I'm pretty sure those are like the three things. The loving. He said that on the music video set. And so that kind of just, I don't know, I just didn't like the portrayal, because I feel like there's a lot of artists that you can think of that are just the love like thing, like that's their brand. He says that's his brand. The hair is his brand. Well, what happens when the hair is gone? Because it halfway through the movie gets chopped off, thanks to Natasha.
Yeah.
So like I guess you kind of just
Yeah.
see a really interesting thing, and Len is just like the brand is gone. You don't write about love, you don't have the hair, it's all gone. But then you see him flourish at the end of the movie.
Yeah, and this is a really good stuff you're all bringing out, because I'd like to think that now with artists and their people that it's moved past this a little bit of them being so boxed in. I mean, look at like the Britney Spears documentary and having to like look and be a certain way. It seems like now that they have a lot more control over their narrative, they're even like taking that into their style
because
more.
now, and this is a big component to it. Now you don't need a manager. You get that later. Like, you can put your stuff on SoundCloud or on YouTube, and you have your own following.
Yeah. So yeah, a different time.
That whole pop star mystique was even dated then by a little bit. Because by then, all you had in the pop landscape was Hillary Duff, pretty much. Like, that's. I mean, you had Hannah Montana later, but that was, again, that wasn't mainstream. Like, Miley wasn't mainstream yet. So, like, this whole marketing and music video, it's sort of reminiscent of, like, the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and all that stuff. But I feel like it was a little bit dated even then.
Yeah, that's really interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, this was what, 2004? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, like, there weren't a lot of pop stars. There were successful pop acts, but there wasn't a Jonas Brothers. There wasn't a, like, everything comes in cycles, and I think this was a little bit too dated. If they waited a few years, it would have made more sense, but it's an interesting idea.
Maybe a little bit of foreshadowing for like the next phase of
Yeah,
things.
I mean,
Yep.
Disney brought in a lot of pop stars, like you were saying, Miley, Demi, the Jonas Brothers, so many more. And so it's kind of like this is a Disney Channel movie, so it's like kind of like a foreshadowing thing.
I could totally go on a tangent about that because people. One quick thing. We're just having a conversation, so who cares? People think that the Jonas Brothers is a Disney act. Not at first.
Right.
And when everybody's like, oh, I follow the Jonas Brothers since, like, Hannah Montana, it's like, no. It's like 2 years before that. That's my tangent because it bugs me all the time when I talk to people.
That's fair because I feel like a lot of them, like all of the other ones I mentioned, they had something before Disney, but like they didn't become mainstream. And when an artist becomes mainstream, everyone's like, "Oh, they're not as good anymore. They're mainstream now." But that's like their fame. That's like what motivates them to keep going for most. And I feel like if they wouldn't have had that footing, they definitely wouldn't be here till this day. And the Jonas Brothers recently reunited. I mean, they're brothers, but they reunited, like back in
I mean,
2019.
they're doing
Mhm.
they're doing just as good now as they did then.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And the way I kind of crystallize it is this: everything flipped. It started off as more mainstream people, then coming and doing projects with Disney, and then turned everything around to getting started in house at Disney and then becoming mainstream. So anyway, who knows? Jordan Cahill, right in the middle of it all.
Definitely. So up next we have Kristen Nelson, who plays Susan Aarons, who is the mother, and she is another very key figure in the movie. She is a real estate agent, and she is in charge of saving this old rundown house. They say the name at some point.
Ashbrook.
I was gonna say Ash Grove, but I was like, that doesn't seem right. I'm pretty sure that's a song.
It is, yes. Oh yeah, you musical
Yes.
theater.
Yeah.
Few. Yes, very
And
knowledgeable.
so Ashbrook, they are trying to save this house. It looks very reminiscent of like the Haunted Mansion at Disney. Very rundown, very old,
Oh my,
rundown
yes.
vibes. And there's really no saving grace to it, really. Like, it looks very unpleasant, but the mom is very set on saving this. And so to save herself, Brittany has to somehow figure a way to save the house so that she doesn't get in trouble with her mother, because this is very important to her mother. This is her work. She has signs, so they're going to hold a rally. But they need someone to bring the attention. So none other than Jordan Cahill will fill the spot. But he doesn't know he's going to be singing
Yeah.
at this. So that's very interesting because she kind of just says that it's going to happen without any like
evidence or promise.
So, but it does happen. I mean, realistically, if I were to just be like, "Oh yeah, Miley's gonna sing at this little thing," like that just wouldn't happen. But you have to remember, they switched cell phones, so she's got to kind of bribe him with something to get the phone back. And so this was the event. He sings a
Yeah.
song, a debut song, as he said, and he sings on the little porch thing, the old rundown house.
That's such a beautiful shot. Like that, I love that.
It's like he was totally manipulated, but it worked out in his favor in the end. And Bob has been saving a really lovely tidbit about the mom for this moment. If you can't remember, it has to do with a door.
Oh my god, okay. Alright. So, for some reason, there's, I guess, would you call it a throwaway line? Would you call it like something?
No, I think it's hilarious.
Well, okay. So, I forget how it comes up. Maybe, I mean, I watch it, but
Okay, I'll help you out. So Brittany is in her room and she's working on her song and playing her guitar. She's supposed to be doing her homework, and her mom hears her sing this line.
The door is closed on.
Yes.
And then she's like, the door is closed on what? Or something like that. And it's like, why are you taking so much time with this line? And the delivery kills me every time.
But when she sings it, when the mom sings it back, the door is closed on.
It's very like theatrical.
I love
that you brought that up because that was in my notes. That specific delivery was so bad. I was watching this in a study hall today. Obviously, I had no other homework to do. I'm ahead of all my homework, so I was like, "What am I gonna do? I'll watch Stuck in the Suburbs." So I'm watching it, and it gets to that line, and I'm just dying of laughter, and everyone's like, "What is going on?" And I'm just like, "It's just so bad."
Like, there's my favorite part of that is there's like a half a beat between when she sings it and the reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And when she sings it back too, I think that just made it. When she just was like, "The door's open," and then the way she just sings it with like such passion when Brittany's like singing it, like mumbling it because she's not very confident in her songwriting, and the mom is just like breaking out into song right then and there. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, she keeps that drama going. The door is closed on my dreams. I'm not sure what I'm more upset about, that it's 8:30 and you haven't started your homework, or that you really feel this way.
I mean, it was so funny. I'm sorry. It's just so
and
funny.
Isn't there something, I don't know, the mother is very over dramatic in this movie. Because there's something either before this or like something about ice cream, and it's like they're having ice cream, and she's like, I don't want any ice. It's like, why are you? They're making the Britney storyline so over dramatic, and it compliments to the mother, and it's beautiful.
The
I
song,
love it.
Also, the song is like the mom said, teen angst. That song is so like dramatic. The door is at first I was like, the door is closed on, because that's all she says. I'm like, that what is that? That doesn't make sense. The door is closed on. Like, I was like, what does that mean? And then she's like, the door is closed on my dreams, and I was like, oh. It was just really dark and dramatic.
I guess about to get real.
And so then,
and even the way she reads it, like, the door is closed on my dream, like she like really feeling it, and it's hilarious.
Very emotional.
Yeah.
So there's many other friends in this movie. They didn't really add anything to the story. They follow Brittany around and her mom pretty much like a dog the whole time. they all stick together. They're the Jordan Cahill fans. They have this little dance that they do, and then they stand on the couch, and it.
And then the brother joins in.
Yeah, that was cute.
I was just gonna
These
go right to the
girls,
brother, so
yeah.
just let's go. He literally was so funny. He seems like my younger sister. She's always like trying to spy on me. Like she's like trying to hear what's like happening. So it's kind of like funny. And so when he like was like on the wall listening in with his the little stethoscope, that's the word. And she like bangs on the wall, and then you hear this little ringing noise and the sound effect. So funny because obviously it's gonna be loud. Just so funny. He is, like you said, Matt McGuire vibes. And I really enjoyed his
Yeah.
character. I mean, he's just supposed to be like a fun little ad but when he joins in, like you said, I just found everything to be so comedic, and I really liked it.
Yeah, he was great. Good Disney Channel brother. I approve.
I agree. I think that's about it for characters. I mean, the dad didn't really do anything. He kind of just hated Brittany as well.
What was he there? He in like 4 scenes.
But at least he like put the ice cream in the cabinet. That was pretty funny. I'll give him that.
Yeah, give him credit.
I mean, at least he was there, unlike most Disney Channel dads. At least he was there. I mean, it was a nice add-in, and it, just kind of have someone else in there kind of added to the dynamic, and, he was there. Got to give him some brownie points for that. Yeah. So, let's just start from the beginning of the plot, like we said. It starts off in this really weird like car scene, and the mom is like kind of going out of it. She's like, "Is this someone's house?" And everyone's like, "No, this is no one's house." She's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" So the mom seems to be going through it too. I think everyone in this movie is just going through something.
I like their little, conversations, and it's just funny because I didn't grow up in a neighborhood exactly like that. Like the houses in mine looked kind of different, but I definitely went to friends' houses and stuff where it was that sort of vibe. So it is kind of comical to see how they like over exaggerated that to where the mom can't even tell like whose house is whose. I thought it was kind of funny to set the tone.
Stuck in the suburbs. It's in the title.
Yep.
Yeah.
And from there they are like, can we please? Can we please? And the mom's like, can you what? Like, come on. And so they want to go watch Jordan Cahill perform on this pop culture show with this host, very reminiscent of like Ellen or something like along the sorts.
Probably like TRL more than anything.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And they start freaking out, start screaming, the classic, like, think of like One Direction fans is like a good way to put it. Like if we're gonna go today, that's a little shout out to my sister, huge One Direction fan, and she just goes crazy. So like they're going crazy,
and then they go into their first attempt at that. Do they do the dance, or is that later?
There's some dancing going on,
but not that.
Not the little
specific.
Like I don't know what to say, like the electric slide type thing that they were doing.
Yeah, there's like some spinning, and then the running on the couch thing, which I'm like, this also shows our age, Bob. I started thinking, am I closer in age to the kids in this movie or the parents? Like we're right in the middle, because I started thinking like, I would never let anyone do that and just stampede my couch and flip it over. I could not help but think of that. So there you go.
You know what? I never thought of that. I never thought of like the age, because I've always just, whenever I watch these, I'm always transported to back when I was a kid, and then I'm like, oh wait, I'm either the age of a brother or, gang. So
Anyway, back on track.
So then they go to school the next day, where she meets Natasha, the new girl, who is supposedly from New York. She's got a pretty decent fashion sense. She kind of just fits right along with the crowd. Her locker's like along, and then each one opens their locker. They got their Jordan Cahill shrine in their door, which is hilarious because There were girls at my school who did that with Justin Bieber, so that's why I keep comparing it to Justin
Oh
Bieber.
yeah.
And it was quite the adventure to see like them all freaking out. And Natasha, even though she's from New York and supposed to be super trendy, she has no idea who Jordan Cahill is. She's like, "Who is Jordan Cahill? Is he your
What
boyfriend?"
were what were these random? I just thought of this. What was this? What was that random tangent about those shoes that
Oh yeah. The New
they
York
got in?
shoes.
Remember the one I
I'll
got them
be
in New York. I got them in New York, but you can only get them online or something like that. And I'm
and
like,
yeah, this is right towards the beginning that the shoes first surface because later one of the girls finds them and there poof there goes Brittany's like one chance to be
They were
different.
interesting
That's what that
shoes too.
was.
Like they weren't just like regular like flip flops. They were like neon is not the word, but they're just like
were they jelly? They were like jelly,
yeah.
I
jelly.
had I'm sure I had a shoe in the same family. It's not that comfortable because you've got the bottom just like flopping up as you walk. They're not like a flip flop. You know, it's like it's a different
It's
feel.
just I was like, why is this the obsession of the movie?
Right.
But nonetheless, I thought it was hilarious because that was Britney's like thing that set her apart. But then when someone else takes her fire, how's she gonna be popular? She's a little too focused on being
Right?
popular, I think, in this movie, as
Yeah.
many characters are in DCOMs. And so Natasha comes in. She has no idea like who Jordan Cahill is, which makes no sense. Like we said, she's supposed to be the trendy teen. Like she lived in New York. They make her to be such this big person and modern, but she's not. She's just a regular girl who's been stuck in the suburbs, just like Brittany, just trying to reinvent herself. Um, and
Mhm.
change herself, which, as I said, that's a no-no, everyone. We don't do that. And from there, we kind of notice their friendship blooming, which is kind of weird at first because they're so different. Like, you see this popular girl kind of with the not so popular girl who wants to be popular. So they kind of both use this as an opportunity to just be friends. They are in gym class together, and Natasha's like, I don't do sports. And she's like, no, the teacher says you'll be on the goal with Brittany, and that's where they first kind of have their first interaction. And she's like, you lived in New York, and they just kind of become friends from there. Kind of a cute little origin story, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then things start to get interesting because Jordan Cahill is coming to town. All the girls, Brittany and her gang, they are freaking out. There's gonna be a pop star in the suburbs. Like that's just unheard of. Like we said.
They're all on their chat rooms.
Yes, the IMs blowing up the computer and all the phone calls with the I love it.
I thought it was hilarious because
And they all have the same ringtone.
I just
Yeah.
thought it was hilarious because it's like something that is still happening today, but it's just like so crazy to kind of like see how far we've evolved since 2004 technology with stuff like that. So
I remember, and I'll say this, after I saw this movie, I looked up what the phone was and I begged my mother for this phone. And cut to, I wasn't even like I was I was just like 6 months shy of turning like 10 or something when I saw it, and I was like, I want this phone, and my mom was like, okay, whatever, which really means no. Like they try to like shut you up. Like,
So
all
all of
right,
this it influenced you to want that particular phone, Bob.
yes.
I mean, I mean,
Could,
2004.
could,
That was the phone.
I mean, you could go on the internet with it. It was cool. Like, but that's one of my vivid memories about watching this movie.
I definitely agree. And now look, we're on the internet, video chatting right now
Yeah,
for a
Definitely.
podcast. And so now Jordan's coming to town. He's filming a music video. Super cool. Brittany's like, let's go and pretend to be fans. However, they're not going to be pretending because they're both going to be fans, even though they don't really know it. They're both fans. I thought the Natasha thing was really weird because she ended up being like kind of a fan. And I was just like, why did you need to hide it? Because that was that would have been an actual bond for them. They needed a good, strong bond, and that would have been good for them.
Yeah, because it's like Brittany had to go and tear all those posters off her walls. You wonder if they could have just both loved Jordan and talked about it. I guess it would have been a different movie.
But I guess that goes back to like the angsty. I feel like I have to fit in kind of attitude with her.
Yeah,
I agree. And so while they're there, they kind of get to see a little bit of a glimpse. I mean, they don't, but we, the audience, get to see a little bit of a glimpse into Jordan Cahill's life, which is not as glamorous as it is made out to be. He wrote lyrics that he can't even sing because his manager won't let him. And so he kind of gets sad, and there's window, and so the girls like run up to the window, and one of my favorite lines is, I think it's from the manager, says, "Go peel them off. They're going to leave a mark." I just thought that was really funny. And they're just like,
oh yeah, that's
pushed
right.
against the window. Just honestly hilarious. And from there, we have our first big plot point. They run into each other, literally. They collide, and everything is a classic, kind of like a Scooby-Doo moment, I feel like very animated moment. They switch stuff around. Somehow the guy grabbed the pink phone, the small pink phone, and confused it for a brown, huge phone. Would that really happen?
Yeah.
Would that really happen?
I'm skeptical. Got like the Palm Pilot versus the little whatever it was.
Nokia. Yeah.
Nokia of some kind. I don't know if I would have made that mistake.
Well, it made a big mistake because now they got to figure it out. And so they go to the hotel, and the hotel manager, the receptionist guy up there, not having it. He's like, "You're just like all the other fans, just lying to get up there."
Wait, you do know who that is, right?
Drew Seeley!
Oh, yes, I did know that. I was like, wait, are you talking about like the guy? And I was, okay, now it makes sense. Drew Seeley.
I love that so much.
Yeah, I like that part.
Hashtag David the desk clerk.
We should make that trend. We gotta trend it.
No, when people found that out, that was trending for like a day. I'll never forget that.
For anyone who does not know who Drew Seeley is, he auditioned to be Troy Bolton in High School Musical and was the singing voice of Troy Bolton, which a lot of people don't know that he's actually not singing. Kind of breaks my heart a little bit.
And he ended up doing music for High School Musical 2. Cheetah Girls 2.
Yeah, and he was on the High School Musical concert tour, I believe.
Yes, he was.
So
he got his moment of fame. He did.
Yeah.
All very interesting. And so the desk clerk, like we said, David, the desk clerk, and he is just not having it. He really tries to convince them to just leave, and eventually they just leave. She's not going to get her phone back. She just gives up already. We're like, 10, 20, maybe 30 minutes into the movie. And so the guy realizes that he made a mistake because he pulls out what is supposed to be Jordan's phone, and it's a hot pink little phone. And he's like, "Oh, crap, I made a mistake. I got to go fix this." So he runs down because he didn't want to admit that he made a mistake because he knows that could cost him his job. That seems to be the theme on the not the Drew Seeley. That's not the name. The Jordan Cahill team. They all just are terrified of losing their jobs. And so he runs down so quick, he misses them by a split second, runs into the back of the car. The sister who is driving, freaking out, is like, "What was that? What was that?" And it's hilarious.
That's my favorite part with her. I love it.
It's kind of like she hit a bird, but she hit a person.
Be a big bird.
And she's freaking out, and she just drives away. And the guy's like, "Wait." He's like, He gets a huge bruise on his head.
You have the wrong phone.
It was hilarious. That was a great part of the movie. Definitely deserves some more appreciation.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to make things better, but Brittany is kind of in this, I'm going to make Jordan's life horrible because I can't get my phone. So Natasha gives the stylist a call because she hacks into his phone, guesses the password, sees he has a hair appointment, calls the place and is like, cut it all off. Cut it all off. And
you would think with high profile management, the password would be encrypted, but I guess not.
Wow, I did not even think of that. I thought, like, is this plausible? Is it not? Leaning towards not. But this is a stylist in a different town. So I guess that's the one loophole. Maybe this chick just doesn't know any better.
she definitely did it because she did it. And Natasha also said, like, don't look him in the eye. You better kneel before him. And he only eats raisins, which you see
Raisins.
earlier in the movie. He hates raisins.
I love it. He goes, I hate and he says that with such passion. He goes, I hate raisins.
And can we just talk about the fact that the segue after she tries to be like raisin, it cuts to the family and they're like having a full blown dinner, and the mom just puts like a bucket of raisins by the brother. It's just like, what is?
It was
happening?
a really weird segue.
And something that we haven't referenced is the director of this movie came from children's television.
Oh,
this was his first made for TV movie. Before this, he directed a comedy movie called Better Off Dead in the 80s. That's like a cult film. And then after that, he directed like a bunch of PBS shows for preschoolers, like The Puzzle Place and other stuff like that. So this is like his first foray into like teen comedy / drama.
Did a pretty good job.
And for reference, if you look him up, he's like a surfer dude. He's very like chill. So I can only imagine him like directing this crazy hijinks filled movie.
Oh, I just looked him up.
So
And
it's
he
sort
has
of funny to me.
quite the resume of films here. He directed the Disney Channel and ABC Family Legally Blondes movie, which I think is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Fairly Odd Movie, Big Time Movie, Fairly Odd Christmas, Fairly Odd Summer, Rufus 2.
But you know what's interesting? Nobody knows where he is. Like he's like they were given a documentary like where is Savage Steve Holland? Like
are you
like
serious?
Yes.
There's some Lizzie, some even Stevens, Phil the Future sprinkled in here.
Oh my
so that's
gosh,
kinda
there's
cool.
a lot of stuff on here. Even like Nick too, Zeke and Luther. He just directed Bizarrevark, which is recent. So I wonder how recent that documentary was.
Right.
But for a while he was so off the radar.
Interesting.
Like, cause I tried to get him for the podcast, and I could not find him.
Very mysterious. Very.
Even people that I know that work with him, they're like, "Yeah, I haven't seen him in like 25 years." I'm like, okay.
Ooh.
I'm kind of interested in this documentary now.
Investigating. That's some investigating to do.
Yeah, Allison investigates. Maybe it's your new episode.
Maybe
from the people that brought you the Adventures of Mary Kate and No,
The Adventures of Mary Kate. Oh yeah.
The detective shit. Oh my god. Another tangent. Sorry.
You're totally fine. This is thoroughly enjoyable. I'm loving this.
Yes. Same.
Now things get kind of crazy because his hair is cut off. That loses his brand. So they need to figure out a way to make this work. The manager comes up with some idea and is like, new song, new brand, new music. Good attempt. However, they did this they cut to like a really weird shot of him filming the music video with a hat on to like do the big reveal. And the hat is very
Oh yeah,
interesting. It's
yeah.
like a tie-dye brownish color. It was just really funny to me.
It's very weird.
I don't know what the reveal, like everyone already knew his hair was cut off. Like we saw it on that show the day before and they're like, he cut his hair, he cut his hair, he cut his hair. The friend group is freaking out. They're freaking out. But he's like doing this
They probably
reveal.
they probably have a text to aim for the Jordan Cahill reunion tour in 2023.
Oh my gosh. Bring out the beanies for that one.
And so they kind of realize that Jordan is not happy with his record label. He's not getting to be his true self on the show, or not on the show, but like with his music. And so he kind of just realizes himself that this is a start of a new era without his hair. Like this is his chance to kind of be the real Jordan that he wants to be. Great self-motivation. I really love that for him. And so, but the girls still have the phone and they are kind of going crazy. They found the More Than Me lyrics. I think that's the song More Than Me. Yeah. And they are like, this, but these aren't the lyrics. And then they kind of finally piece together that they need to kind of save him in a way, which I mean, I don't know how two random teenage girls are going to save a huge pop star, but they make it work. They make it work. And however, they demand of him, I mean demand, because he had no idea that he was going to sing at this rally thing. And then they get it to do. Yeah, what did that even mean? They get it to do. That doesn't make any sense. They get it to happen. And it's just kind of a crazy moment because you kind of just see that he's going to sing his own lyrics because they sent it out to everyone, which was like, again, how did that work? How did that work?
You know, it's interesting. It's such a weird plot point and a weird turn of events. Like the whole going through the neighbor's yard, the whole bit, and all everything leading up to that. And then you just watch it and it's like you hear him sing and then it just makes sense for those 3 minutes. You're like, oh, this is nice. You know what I'm saying?
It was.
Yeah, I love a good run through the backyards of the neighbors scene.
That's.
It's like, are you babysitting Monday or whatever? It's like,
right.
Yeah, it's like, okay, cool, whatever.
It was really funny. I love that scene because she runs away. Then she's like, wait, Brittany comes back. Can you babysit? And she's like, yeah, I think. And then runs off. She was so not even bothered by it. She's like, I gotta go. Like, I gotta go get to Jordan's concert rally. And he eventually gets all this attention, which preserves the house, the Ashbrook house. And so they end up being part of a music video for him in the town that they were filming at like a mall type courtyard majig.
I love it.
And yeah, and pretty much it is crazy for them. They're living their best lives. And then, we kind of skipped over the Natasha Brittany drama. Like, it was just so odd because she finds out that she was lying because the mother told her, and she's like, oh, they're not even divorced. They cut to a really long, sad montage. Then they just move on.
And then you hear the mother go. You hear, what is going on?
Okay, and the montage, that's to Haley Duff's Whatever Life, right?
That song used to make me cry.
Did I hear you say whatever? Should've walked away. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, set the tone really well there.
And then they pretty much just kind of get over it right away, which is like really weird because they need to work together and it's about Jordan, so it kind of like brings them together. But I'm like, if you found out your best friend was lying to you, I mean, I don't think you could just like get over that. But it's a DCOM and they're running out of time. They've only got like 10, 20 minutes left. They got to speed it up here.
And you got 2 more commercial breaks. You gotta put your time in there.
And that pretty much brings us to the end of the movie where she's on the phone and with Jordan, and now they're like best friends.
Right. It's crazy.
And she's like, "Oh, I'll talk to you soon. Bye." Like they're just like best friends now.
Right.
And I'm like, "Oh, good for you." It was quite the ride, this movie. This movie was quite the ride.
Yeah.
Now,
Yes.
if I can I just tell you, like, when I was doing this when I was gearing up to do this podcast and I was watching the film, my mom came in and was like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, stuck in the subway. I'm about to do this podcast. She's like, "You love that one as a kid." So even she remembers that I had a fondness for it. It was
That's awesome.
It was such a bonding moment for all of us. I'm so glad that I chose this one. That we both did it.
Oh, I was so glad to have you. Right when Allison reached out, I was like, "Yes, of course, let's make it happen."
Oh.
But we didn't talk about the epic song at the end credits.
Oh yeah, we got to talk. We're at the end. Let's do it.
Okay, can I just briefly say that Matthew, are you familiar with Limited 2,
Yes.
right? Okay, so I brought it up at the beginning because of her outfit, you know, like the just to say, please put me in your video, or like, please put me in a sweater. But beyond that, I got the soundtrack at Limited 2, and I probably like got some sparkly shirt or something with it. So since we're on the topic of that wonderful song, I love this soundtrack so much because, of course, all the Jordan Cahill songs, the Haley Duff song, like we mentioned. Before we get to Bob's song, Stacy Orico, for us Radio Disney kids, was huge at the time, and she had that other song, "There's Gotta Be More to Life." So
then she had Stuck too. That's
what was in this one. Yeah. And then of course, like Bob is saying, Over It. Oh, so good. Annalisa Vanderpool.
And she's a Broadway girl, so to hear her do like rock was kind of cool.
Yeah. Matthew, what's your favorite part of the soundtrack?
This is a really hard question because I really liked the Haley Duff song because I love Hillary and Haley Duff. I love their song, their rendition of Lips Are Sealed from Most Wanted. That's a good song. But I also really liked the Annalise Vanderpool song just because I always loved her in like That's a Raven, Raven's Home. And I did not even know that she was singing the song. And so I'm like researching and like typing and I'm like, she was singing that?
I love the music video for it too.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. Like,
but you know, there's Jackie McCartney did a song just for the soundtrack that didn't appear anywhere else.
Yes, that's right. That was a good one too.
They got some good people on the soundtrack. I have to give them extra credit for the soundtrack. And
mind you, there's like a special edition of the soundtrack with like dance remixes of Jordan Cahill songs, and those are bona fide bops right there. So
bonafide bops. BRB, gonna check eBay.
I'm gonna have to find it. I need to listen. I'm excited.
Wow.
Well, we're at the rating point of the episode, and so I will go first. I have been told I am a tough rater. I think I am a tough rater. But this movie thoroughly impressed me. However, like we said, there were some small issues. We talked through them. And Brenda Song and the soundtrack I have to give extra points for. So I settled on like a good 7 out of 10 for me, personally.
I'm right there with you. And funny thing, I saw that Brenda Song actually has a music credit, but it doesn't really say what. Like some type of behind the scenes music thing. So there you go. That solidifies it. A 7 for me because I love this movie, but there are other ones that I would have to rate higher. But it's still so good. So good.
I have to say, I have to give this one like a 7.5.
Okay, I like that
because
too.
there are like this was. I mean, this came out a year after I got Disney Channel, so like I was so like knee deep in watching whatever was on it, and when they used to run those promos all the time, you were kind of inclined to watch what they had because you got sucked in.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, you've convinced me. I'm upping mine to 7.5 as well.
I love it. I'm gonna stick
Like
with my 7.
I remember I remember this watching this religiously and pixel perfect. Like
Yeah, yeah, that
those
was
two,
all the same year.
I just I just I love it all.
Yeah, it
And
was a shorter run
and
though.
this was the first, and if it's any consolation, when all the movies went available on streaming prior to Disney Plus, and you had to buy them, and you couldn't get them anywhere else. This was the first one I bought because I wanted to watch this one again
Aw.
so bad.
Well, I'm so glad that we were all
So I'm
able
so happy to talk about
to
it.
talk together about it today. And now my last question for our interview is my classic That's So Matthew question. And I always love the responses, particularly I should say, about these older movies. Does it hold up? Does this hold up well? It's 2021. We're looking at about 17 years later. Does it feel as good as it did back then? Does it, technology wise, does it still the music still screams 2004? But what are your guys' thoughts on just how it holds up?
Bob, you
Hmm.
want to go first?
I yes. I look. Technology doesn't quite hold up. Fashion does not quite hold up. But the stories of friendship and liking a pop star and being so invested in their career, those themes do hold up. So even if you can't relate to the specifics, I feel like there is a lot to enjoy here, as zany and as weird as it may be.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. For me, sometimes I look at the 2000s, they're so imperfect, but sometimes I'm just like, this is a world I want to live in. Or the 90s, just thinking about the aspects of it that are simpler. So I do like being taken back to some of that technology, the fashion. I would wear some of these things. I do feel like sometimes in these movies, some of the characters are a little over the top with their fashion choices there. But I always love a music driven DCOM, even if it's not a musical, but there's just something tying it together and music has a central focus. I think that ages really well for me because it's, yeah, it
You
has
know,
that 2000 sound, but it's still really fun.
there's a similar film. It's not a decom, but it reminds me of this a whole lot. Like the tonally of it, not plot, but it's called Raise Your Voice.
Oh, yeah, it's a Hillary movie.
I I think there's a lot of parallels here.
Hmm.
Like tonally, how it played out. I
Interesting.
mean, there's nothing as deep as what happens in Raise Your Voice. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But the like it's just so musically driven, like you said, and there aren't movies like that anymore that deal with real issues and have a real family dynamic and talk about friendship in this way. So it's a very special film for what it is.
But Matthew being born the same year and like from your perspective looking at all of this old technology and stuff, what do you think?
Well, I think that it feels 2004. There's no doubt about it. The technology, the music, everything. And honestly, I really like that. I've always been driven to like more, I don't want to say old, but I'll say not as new, like movies and music and just that whole kind of like way of life back then. And so I really enjoyed this movie. Like we said, there were just some inconsistencies like with the fashion and technology and some stuff that I don't even think exists today. Like the phone is still rather advanced, but I really enjoyed it. I think it does hold up with, like you said, the plot. It's still a pop star, having like a weird obsession with a pop star, following their every move, and that and the management aspect, it all just works. And I think that it held up really well, specifically for 2004 DCOM Disney Channel.
Yeah.
Well, that about wraps up this episode of the podcast. That's Matthew. Thank you both for being here with me today. So, for one last time, where can my listeners find you and your work?
Who wants to start?
Go ahead. Go for it.
Well, you can find me on my podcast website, which is, for those that don't know, I have a podcast called the DJ Bob Show, in which I cover similar things to Stuck in the Suburbs and just pop culture in general. You can find that at djbobshow.com or any of your favorite streaming platforms. If you want to follow me personally, the best place to follow me to see my pointless memes and the stupid stuff I post is my Instagram, and you can follow me at Runkstagram. That's RUNK Instagram. And I'm there, and I'm so happy that I was invited here to do this.
Yeah, this was awesome. And again, I'm Allison McLean Merrill. I run the Past Foot Forward blog, which you can reach at pastfootforward.com, or on my Instagram, where I just sort of post a collection of things I've written, occasionally a reel with me singing a nostalgic song. And in May, I'm going to be doing trivia and facts on Disney Channel shows every day. So come hang out. And thank you so much, Matthew, for having us.
Of course. Well, thank you both for joining me. It was an honor to have you both and get your insight and your pop culture knowledge on a film that you both really enjoyed and I enjoyed as well. And if you guys want to see more updates from the podcast, make sure to follow me on Instagram at That's So Matthew, as well as Twitter at That's So Matthew1, and Facebook at facebook.com/That's So Matthew. And if you want to email me, you can email me at thatsmatthewpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to see updates and join my email newsletter along with listening to the podcast, you can just go to thatsomatthew.com for all the updates there. Thank you all so much for listening, and I'll see you guys in another episode again soon. Bye.
Bye.